Hello there.
Hello. How are
How
we?
you doing? I'm
All
good.
good.
I'm good. Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's live stream from Propulsion Swimming. If you haven't watched us before, this is going to be basically a rundown of the 2021 Glasgow Swim Meet, day 3.
Day
God,
3.
still not quite used to finals in the morning and
Yeah.
heats in the evening. I'll get used to it eventually by the
It
time
takes
Tokyo comes around.
It takes a while, doesn't it? I still can't get my head around it. I don't think I ever will either. But yeah.
No. So basically for this live stream, throw any questions into the chat on YouTube. We will answer them. We'll bring them up on the screen. We will talk about all sorts of topics. We're going to go through obviously the racing today, the finals this morning, the heats. We'll give a shout out for a few juniors who I think made their European junior qualification times this morning.
They did.
And we'll discuss a few other topics like Tokyo, which is very much on the horizon now. This is our penultimate live stream before Tokyo.
It is.
And we kind of want to touch on a few things in terms of open meets in general, because this one, it's hard to say this because I'm a swimming purist. I love watching swimming. It's dragging slightly.
This meet though, because you had the Europeans. I think trials were okay. Maybe the Manchester meets, but that was the first one since COVID, so they're probably trialing and erroring what would work. But this one has been. I think the times haven't helped because they haven't been electric like they have been at Europeans, etc. So I think that's part of the issue. But at the same time, this one, yeah, dragging is quite a strong word, but it does feel like it's taken a bit of time, and I don't like the gaps in between races. That's what I don't like.
This is the first time as a viewer sat at home watching a live stream of the swimming that I've really noticed the COVID effect, like taking hold of the racing, really.
Yeah.
And we was just speaking before we went live. I think the big thing this meet is missing is some music on poolside or some announcer on poolside, because when you're watching the racing, it is deathly silent.
It's just eerie. Yeah, it is. It's almost eerie, which is, I think, sport in general. You know, the French Open is on in the tennis. At least there's a couple of people in the stadium. They can actually, there's a little bit of atmosphere there, but it looks like on poolside at the moment, there's none. And obviously, the officials are on poolside, but they can't scream and cheer. The coaches don't really scream and cheer. You hear the go go type things, but other than that,
you can hear the whistling. I mean, what was it before the? I think it was a 53 yesterday. You heard them all slapping and everything like that. It's just missing some sort of ambience in the background. Like I said, a music DJ would kind of solve that. Europeans was really good because of it. Kind of filled that void.
I remember I put a tweet out saying, got a big shout out to the DJ because he has thrown some absolute bangers out. And that's all it needed. That's all it needs, just to play like half a song in between each race, just to get the vibe going, the atmosphere going. But of course, if no one's there, doesn't really help.
Well, yeah, but it really helped everyone at home at Europeans and the swimmers on poolside. They just need to go along to Glasgow Uni and pull a kid out of halls and stick them on the decks. Easy.
Yeah. Well, we've mentioned that a few times. Just grab someone from the Glasgow Uni for the features on the live stream and then the music behind the scenes as well. Just bits and pieces like that. And I came up with another idea, actually, where, like at Cheltenham races, where you have Ireland versus English, and it's always like a head-to-head.
Yeah.
Maybe there should be something like a sub sort of plot where it's like Sterling versus Buff and it's all points-wise or something to spice up a little bit, you know?
A bit like NCAAs over in America, where you get the team competitions. Just something another. I don't know if me and Dan have. I need to word this properly. After years of swimming and now years of watching swimming, open meets, it needs reinventing slightly in this country because it's a drag for the officials because they're on poolside for, today's sessions, you've had 3 sessions, all of them have gone over 2 hours. So you're saying officials on poolside for 7 hours, coaches on poolside for 7 hours. It's just quite long. So either it needs speeding up, and yes, I appreciate COVID protocols, but I think maybe it needs an added element rather than just swimmers looking for times. Maybe it is the NCAAs where they're swimming for their university, they're swimming for their club, and there's a club award. I know me and you went to open meets in the past. I think Cardiff one did it quite a lot, where they had an award for top club. but
Yeah.
it's not really talked about that much. Maybe that needs emphasizing a little bit more at this sort of meet, because you're watching at home and just this meet doesn't do any favors in promoting swimming further, which
No,
is my issue.
not to the casual fans. It doesn't bring
No, not at
your
all.
your random people off the street and bring them to watch the sport at all.
No.
They're going to watch the first 5 minutes and think, that's a bit boring, isn't it? Nothing's really happening. Okay, the racing is good and Adam Peaty does really well and Molly Renshaw does really well. But then it's the gaps in between that's really killed me today.
It's not catching anyone's eye, is it?
No. So I think there needs to be individual impetus, of course, with their times and trying to get the consideration times. But on the subplot, like a subheading, like doing something for your team, building some points, creating a league of some form. I don't know. Something needs to be, I don't know. Yeah, some sort of extra element in there just to spice it up a little bit.
I don't know. Maybe we'll get to the stage where we can talk about these things with British swimming and maybe implement them on 1 or 2 meets and see what happens. See if people are more excited by watching an open meet that has that added feature. Who knows? Who knows?
I'd like to create our own team and then have our own gala. So just a trial and error, isn't it? Of course. So yeah, some things would work and some things wouldn't. But as long as you'd find out what would work, then you just take it from there, don't you? But I think something needs to be added, definitely, just to spice it up.
Yeah. So do we want to start off analyzing the morning's racing? Because we had some finals, we had some very fast time swam as well. So let's break it down. Let's go into them. So do you want to kick things off with the 800s? I mean, I'll leave those over to you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So of course, Holly Hibbert didn't enter the 800 because she's targeting the 400, which I think the final for the 400 is tomorrow morning. So that would be her main event. Yeah, I don't know. This one, it was quite close. The top 3 girls were separated by 3 seconds, but nowhere near the consideration time, which is a shame. Hopefully one of these girls does step up and fill the void of Jazz Carling and Becky Addington from way back when, you know?
Yeah.
We're just missing that distance freestyle on the women's side. We got one on the men's side in Dan Jervis, and I think Kieran Bird
might get there.
He might enter the 800, seeing as though he's going. I don't know, but he hasn't hit the consideration time for the 800. So, yeah. I don't know. It's not much to say. The girls look good, but I think, like we said, the COVID problem could still be a factor at the moment, especially for the rest of this season. So, yeah.
They've not had that long cycle that a distance swimmer really, really needs.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this is one of the events of focus leading up to Paris. I think we need swimmers in this distance freestyle, because otherwise you're going to start turning into America, where they have no one other than Ledecky. The guys' side, they've not had a decent distance freestyler in a very long time. I
think the problem is that, like Adam Peaty was saying to us, that the distance swimming just isn't interesting. And of course, I imagine the training for those events as well, where you're just doing laps and laps and laps and effectively, just long plodding aerobic sessions, then doing heart rate sessions, VO2 max. It's tough. Whereas if you're a sprinter, you can probably agree with this, where you just do a 50 max and then you run for like 5 minutes. You just chat.
Well, it's just more fun. I think actually Adam, when we spoke to him, hit the nail on the head. Kids these days have a very short attention span, which is why the likes of TikTok, Snapchat, all stuff like that works as a social media platform, because it's only in your face for like 30 seconds. That's almost the attention span of. It's kind of weird to say that. So maybe the era of long distance swimmers is fading slightly.
Well, I liked his idea. We'll see. Was it Adam's idea or was it Anna's idea? I can't remember. I think it was Adam's, where he just said, just scrap the 8s. And it was Nick Hope. Where he said, scrap the 800 and the 1500 and just have both of them do the K.
1K, yeah.
And I just thought, well, that's probably, makes sense, doesn't it? And then it goes from the 50, 1, 2, 4, 8, not 8, 2, 4, and the K. And that's it. And just leave it like that. Because I could watch the 400 all day, because you could see the tactics play out. But a distance, it does get a bit tedious, especially if you're not into the swimming side of it. Like, would you watch the 10K run in the athletics? It's not really interesting until the last lap.
Actually, that's the difference with the athletics. When a 10K is going on, you have it in the little kind of split screen in the corner, and then you focus on the triple jump or something like that.
Yeah, like
maybe like swimming needs to happen at the exact same time the diving is.
Yeah, that
in a different pool, something like that. I don't know.
That would be quite good. I'd watch that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the
if you,
diver, everyone needs silence, and who knows?
oh
Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. Oh well, yeah. It's a difficult one, isn't it? But
That's
yeah,
the
it's a shame.
800's done.
Yeah.
There was no times of note. I mean, Dan Jervis hasn't hit the consideration time for the 800, so I don't think we're going to have anyone racing it at Tokyo. So we will move on to the women's 400 meters individual medley. Abby Wood, I said last night she might hit the consideration time. Little bit disappointing. She's gone a bit slower. If you look on her Instagram, she's come out and said that's the last time she swims it. She's put
Yeah.
it back into retirement.
Yeah.
I think it hurt quite a lot. Now, I have a theory about why she swam the 4IM
Go on then.
this weekend. I think they did it to highlight areas of weakness more because it's a longer distance. So in the 200, it's more of a sprint, so it might hide the fact that she's got a weaker leg.
Okay.
So in this 400 IM, for me, it really stood out. Her backstroke needs some work. And
Well,
especially if you're competing against Hosu, whose backstroke is incredible,
Mm.
doing a 400 where it's 100 of that stroke, it made it stand out a lot more. So maybe they go away now with Dave Hemmings and they work on her backstroke technique for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean, you got to remember that she was in the pool with Katie Shanahan, who, for me, now has changed
yeah.
the medley swimmer to a backstroker. She should concentrate on backstroke. By all means, race the medley because you never know where it could take her. She's still 16. But for me, at the moment, she's doing really well on the backstroke, and she definitely she overtook Abby on that 100-meter backstroke.
So did Hannah Miley, which was
Yeah.
more of that was the thing that caught my attention a little bit more than Katie. Katie was expected.
Yeah.
I
Well, with Hannah,
think just maybe it kind of highlighted a slight weakness that might need some work come Tokyo.
yeah, I think what Hannah did is do what every swimmer should do if you're targeting a time and just took it out. And she never takes it out hard on the fly. When have you ever seen Hannah Miley touch first or second in the fly? She always comes through on the front, on the breaststroke and then the front crawl at the end. But she took it out hard, pushed the backstroke clearly, and then usually she's quite good at the breaststroke. But Abby left her then.
Abby's very good at the breaststroke.
Abby's obviously very good at breaststroke. But yeah, I didn't think she was going to get it. I said to you yesterday, I think she was going to miss it. I didn't think she would enter it anyway, quite frankly. So that kind of goes out the window anyway. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe she is looking for a weakness, and backstroke is the weakest stroke of her four. I mean, it's still pretty decent. It's good.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just thinking if you're trying to get that half a second that we spoke about yesterday for her to guarantee that podium.
Yeah,
a 2085. Maybe they've found it now. They found the area of improvement.
Well, especially when you're racing Hosu, she doesn't really have a weak stroke Hosu. And like we said, to beat Hosu, you've got to touch ahead of her on the breaststroke leg. And of course,
freestyle leg.
Oh, after the breaststroke turn and onto
after
the freestyle leg. Sorry, yeah. I lost my train of thought now. Yeah, so you've got to touch ahead of Hosu before the final length is what I'm trying to say. And and backstroke is obviously going to be quite key in doing that to beat Hosu. She did it at Europeans, and hopefully she does it again. But yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a tester for her, but she's put that event into retirement, like you say. So
yeah, definitely.
No more of that.
Men's 400 meters individual medley, Max Litchfield with a 412.
I was quite happy with that.
Not bad at all.
Yeah,
I was pretty good.
Really hoping he would go 412, 413, and that's exactly what he's done. Basically, he's just gone quicker than the consideration time again, if I got that right, because the consideration time was 413. So I think pretty sure it's 413. Yeah. So for him to go under it again is really, really good, actually. It just looks like he's getting there. He's not the finished article just yet, which is good. You don't want to be like swimming your best ever right now, seeing as though Olympics is in 6 weeks' time. He's on the right track, and I'm actually really excited now because his PB's 4.9. He should be somewhere getting close to that come Tokyo now. And I think 4.9, 4.8, somewhere around that region might scrape a bronze. I really do.
It's a little bit open because both the Japanese guys aren't doing the 4IM, if I remember correctly. Sato and Hagino aren't doing it. So it is a little bit open.
You have to double check that. I don't know. I think Sato did swim a 400 IM very recently. Can't remember what time he did, but whether he's actually racing it at Tokyo is a different question altogether. But we know Max is obviously swimming it. So I think he could scrape a medal. That would be a really good medal as well.
Everyone else in the field looks pretty tired, don't they?
They do. I mean, of course, we're going to talk about Brody Williams again. It was he looks tired. He really does. He does look tired. And of course, He swam backstroke this evening. Again, looks
Mm.
tired. He's qualified for 8th, so he's gonna have to do it again tomorrow morning. So I suppose it's just another training session for him, really. So
Yeah, we may as well tease it. We're hoping to get him on the podcast sometime soon before Tokyo, and I kind of want to speak to him about that Joel Fink squad and how mentally strong they must all be, because you're seeing your teammates who you've qualified with them at Tokyo going pretty well at Europeans, going okay at this meet, not amazing, but then all of you guys in that squad are clearly suffering. You are clearly in a lot of pain. So you must have an incredible amount of trust in your coach.
definitely.
Just be like, oh, okay, I'll put all the results that I'm having for the next 2 months to the back of my mind, and I will ignore them. And then come Tokyo, I trust that I will be in the place I was at trials and better.
I was going to say,
they are clearly.
You've got to have selective sort of memory, I think. Kind of ignore these Europeans and Glasgow meet and just remember, this is how I felt leading up to trials. This is what I ate. This is how I felt. This is how I trained, and just keep that in memory so that you can do it again in 5-6 weeks' time, ready for the biggest swim of your life, which it will be for the entire Joel Fink squad. I think most of them it's their first time, so of course, trust in the coach. He knows what he's doing, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just can't wait to get into it and find out actually what is going on behind the scenes.
Yes, yeah.
Women's 100 meters breaststroke. Molly Renshaw, Sarah Vasey, very much exactly the same time, both going to Tokyo. They're both about PB +2, I would have thought.
Well, their PBs are low 65s, aren't they? Sorry, low 66s.
Molly's gone to 65.
In a relay split, she did.
Ah, yes.
That was a relay split.
Yeah. So PB +1. That's pretty good then.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually really impressed with Sarah Vasey, known as the 50-meter swimmer. Takes out
came
hard.
Back strong.
And actually, it was the other way around. Molly took it out pretty strong. And actually, Sarah came back strong.
It was weird. Both playing about.
Yeah, maybe. They both know they've qualified, so maybe it is a little play with tactics.
Yeah.
And they both did the same sort of time. I know Molly will be targeting the 200 more so than 100, but I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I'd be surprised if she didn't race both the 100 and the 200. Whereas Sarah is just ultimately going for the 100, a bit like PC, really.
Definitely.
So, I'm pretty happy with those times, honestly. I think the British record goes, definitely, at Tokyo. Yeah, I think there's a 65 on the horizon.
Men's 100 breaststroke.
Yeah.
Bit slow. I think this is the first time this season we've seen PT look pretty dead, pretty heavy in the water, slipping quite a lot. Training that's obviously got a massive part to play with that. Sorry, looking for my words. But the fact that the whole field goes that PB +2, the whole field did, it's understandable. I think it basically sums up this meet if you just look at the times that Adam's gone.
I mean, if you take a 58.2 in terms of world rankings right now, he's still like the second fastest because Kaminga's gone 50s or whatever time it is. So still a really, really good time. It's just that I think now the training has maybe caught up to him a little bit. Maybe
taken hold.
Yeah, it is definitely. Yeah, and I think there's only so much mental strength you can have before your body starts to not give away, but the tiredness is definitely showing. He's really showing fatigue by the look of things. He was slipping water a little bit. It just didn't look like his normal self, but still 58.2 for him. Very good swimming. James Wilby is pretty much the same sort of time.
PB
in terms of PB plus. And then Ross Murdoch pretty much did the same time as James, and they swimming wise or swim speed wise over 100, they're pretty much the same sort of time, aren't they, give or take? So I think it's the training that's now taking effect, really. So I suppose it's supposed to be really hard now for the next 2 weeks before it comes down for the next 4 weeks, So
definitely.
But yeah,
women's 200 meters butterfly. We had a confirmed consideration. We were slightly concerned that she hit it in the heats last night, Laura Stevens, but she smashes it again. I mean, she did go over a second slower than she went last night, but she's still under the consideration time, a 2:08.15. All doubts out the window. She's on the team. She's going to Tokyo.
Yeah, I was never really concerned that she would replicate the same time or going underneath the time of Olympic consideration. I had no issues at all. I didn't think she would do the same time of 2:07.0. I thought she'd go maybe 2.7 high, but 2.81 does the job. Congratulations to her. She really deserves it, honestly.
Definitely.
We had her on our team beforehand, and now we look like geniuses, which is great. Thank you very much for that, Laura. But really good swim overall, really. And she just deserves it. Yeah.
Men's 200 meters butterfly, not kind of the fairy tale ending we were hoping for. Ed Mildred and Jay Elliott, a 1:55 is a very fast time. They both go a 1:58. Ed wins it in a 1:58 flat.
Yep.
It was almost a lack of competition that went against them. I think the reason Jay was slower was because Jimmy wasn't in the pool.
Yeah, maybe.
But then also we spoke about beforehand, kind of to really target your consideration time, you're going to have to they've obviously tapered for trials. They've then trained through Europeans. Jay didn't go, Ed did. Trained through that, and then you've tried to taper again for this meet in probably quite a short amount of time.
Yeah.
To hit the time, and then if you hit the time, you're then going to have a third taper in the space of 3 months to then taper for Tokyo. So you put yourself in a very precarious position.
Well, we were talking to Adam about it, and it makes no sense to do like 2 weeks work and then like a week taper, let's say, and just repeat that 3 times through. You're missing out a whole block of training for the aerobic base behind you or the anaerobic base behind you, depending on what event you're doing. And of course, if it's 200 fly, you're going to have to do a lot of aerobic stuff. And by doing that, they've missed out. If they qualified for Tokyo, the times would possibly be slower than what they've just done. They might step up to the occasion, of course, because you have to swim your biggest race of your life. But yeah, it's such a difficult time to do. I'm actually quite happy with Ed Mildred's time. I don't know if that's a PB or not.
I think Ed's got a big future at 200 fly. I think Jay might consider changing back to the 4 and the 800 freestyle, because I know before COVID he was very much targeting those for trials, and then I think I listened to him on a different podcast, and he said he made the decision to target the shorter distance races because he hadn't had that massive aerobic block and didn't have that capacity in him.
Yes.
So maybe after this he does target the 800 for Commonwealths, 400 for Commonwealths, and then see what happens leading up to Paris. But I'm sure that isn't the end of him.
Oh no, especially when it's only a 3-year cycle till the next Olympics. I actually think that's a little bit in his favor, to be honest with you. Yeah. If it doesn't happen at Paris, then unfortunately it's just one of those things, I'm afraid. A bit like me, it just didn't happen. But I think Ed Mildred has a big future. I mean, I've noticed him when did I notice him the first time? A while back, but I think he's got a massive future. He's our next 200 meter flyer. Only 18, 19. So I think he's going to bring that PB of his down lower and lower and lower, and then hopefully be a threat when it comes to the global stage. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Women's 200 meters freestyle, very slow. It was
bit
painful.
I mean, I can understand it from Freya's point of view, because she's qualified for every event pretty much that she's wanting to go for, the 100 to 200.
Yeah, there was still a spot open though.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it's true. I like the fact that Lucy went for it. She absolutely went for it at the very beginning. Split a 57-1 on the first 100. So she put herself in a really good position to get it, actually. And then on the 150 mark, 127 was her split. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to make it. We only have to go a 30 point here. But unfortunately, went 31. So it just hits her towards the end. So I kind of think that she's got the potential to do it. It's just come around a bit too early for her.
She's one of the names I hope gets confirmed at the end of next week. I really hope for the relays. She's come Europeans. She was almost a standout relay swimmer at Europeans for the 4x1 and the 4x2. So I hope they take one of those relays. The girls haven't done themselves any favors in taking a 4x2 after this weekend.
It's a difficult one. In fact, probably the best swim out of all of that lot, along with Lucy Hopes, was Emma Russell's. 2 minutes 0.9. That's a pretty good swim, actually. Maybe Tamron 2:01, but she did really well at Europeans
and 59s.
Yeah. Let's just ignore Freya for now because she's already going. But Emma Russell's a very good swim. Both of these girls are young. Tamron and Emma, what are they? 18, 19, something like that. So they've still got a future ahead of them. I think Paris is where they should be targeting, especially. Then you got Holly Hibbert, who was in 5th in 2:01.1. unfortunately, I just don't think it's working for her at the moment. I think it's just I don't know. COVID has not helped her training. I think that's
No.
been the big issue for her. But Lucy Hope's looking good, and I really, really hope she's on the plane. I really do, just for a
Yeah,
relay.
so do I. So do I.
Yeah.
Men's 200 meters freestyle, however, this was a tiny bit good, as always, with British swimming now. 200 freestyle is just anytime it happens on British soil and you've got British guys competing, I'm watching. It's that good a field.
Yeah, this needs to be the one race or one event where this drags people in to watch the sport, because these guys are seriously good at what they do at this event. Duncan Scott, being on hard training, going 146.0.
Yeah, it's good.
That's good. That is very good going. And Tom Dean's not too far behind, 0.4 slower than him. Jimmy Guy pretty much did the same time as him. I mean, our relay team is looking pretty good. I suppose the only question was Matt Richards, but I think he's in a hard state, a bit like Brody Williams. They're training hard at Bath at the moment.
Don't read too much into that.
Someone who I was really impressed with, well, there's quite a few actually, but let's go with Cameron Curl. Again, underneath that
under the consideration, I think he's on the plane now. I think he swims in the relay. I really do. The relay heats. Give Duncan some time off. Give Tom some time off.
Maybe, yeah.
Jimmy's going to be swimming a lot of relays as well. Give him a bit of time off. I think he goes.
I'd be racing Jimmy in every relay. I'd want him in
even
every
the
relay.
Heats.
Yeah, I'd just put him in. I would. Yeah.
Just kill him off. But the issue I have with that is the last race is the medley relay. The last race of the Olympics is medley relay. So keep him fresh for that one, please.
So the so-called important one, I suppose.
It's massively important.
Yeah, but he's a fighter, isn't he? I mean, he steps up and he's going to be racing dressel. He will perform. I've got no doubt. I
just don't want to tire. I wouldn't tire him out on a 4x2 heat swim when we're definitely making the final.
Well, we'll see.
No need. I mean, there's no need.
Well, if you've got Cameron Curl going 146 now, you've got Callum Jarvis who can go 146. Stick them both in
Matt
the heat.
Richards who can go
Matt
146.
Richards can go 46 or 145. He went actually at trials. And then just stick on Tom Dean or Duncan Scott, whoever's feeling fresh that day. I mean, you got Joe Litchfield you could just stick on as well. Depends how many races he's going to do.
He pulled out,
and of course, actually, I suppose the time is a little bit slow. You got Jacob Whittle, who again broke the age group record. 148.1 for a 16-year-old is very good.
That's faster than Duncan Scott ever went at 18. This kid, we said he has to go to the Olympics. We said on a 4x1. He's capable of doing the 50, the 100, and the 2 right now. I don't know whether him and his coach Jamie Main start narrowing it down to maybe the 50 or the 100 or the 100 and the 200. But he's got time on his side to decide that.
That's just it. I mean, I'm trying to think back now to when Ben Proud was swimming. Now, of course, he's just an out-and-out 50.
Well, he used to do 50 and 100.
Huh? He just used to do 50 and 100.
And then he specialised the moment he went to James Gibson. And James Gibson said, stop racing the 100. It's tiring you out for the 50.
And what age was that at? Can you remember?
24, something like that.
So he was 24. So Jacob's got
16. He did the 4x1 at the last Olympics at Rio, didn't he?
I can't remember. I really can't remember.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. So
what I'm trying to say is that Jacob's got so much time. He's got like 4 or 5 years to actually pick and choose what he wants to do. As of right now, do all 3 of them. I mean, you're young, you're going to recover quicker. Because you never know, he might actually be a 200-meter swimmer. You just don't know, but he just has that raw speed. I mean, we spoke to Anna on the podcast, who's got the natural speed, but now she was a 50-meter swimmer, but now she's now developed into 100 because she's training the back end.
Tactics and stuff like that as well.
So
it's interesting. We'll have to speak to Jamie again. Just like, which one does he do?
well, we spoke to him for an hour. We could have spoken to him for like all day.
We could.
It's the same with all of our guests. To be fair, it's like, oh god, it's 45 minutes an hour. We need to tone it down a bit. But either way, I mean, a 200 front crawl, the depth for male swimming at the moment is absolutely incredible.
Oh, I love it. I really do.
I can't remember. I asked you yesterday how many swimmers have qualified consideration time wise for the 200. Is it like 7 or 8? We could almost have 2 separate teams nearly. So I don't know if Max would want to do the heat. Depends where it is on the schedule, because the 400 Ironman, actually the 400 Ironman is usually the first event. He could do it, couldn't he? He really could. So So
There's so many. There's so many.
we could easily rest the big guns in Duncan, Tom Dean, and Jimmy. So easily.
Yeah. And then you might stick the 4 of the other guys outside of it, the 4 of them, and say whoever of you guys goes fastest. Maybe you do stick Tom Dean on the first leg just because that's off a start.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes it out pretty well. He takes out a 200 really well and leads off a relay really well. I think he probably leads off the final. And then the other 3 guys, you say whichever one of you swims fastest in the heats is swimming the final. I think that's the American way of doing it.
Normally, it just puts extra pressure on them, basically. Yeah, and so whoever does the fastest time will then swim in the second or the third leg. Yeah,
would then join Tom Dean, Duncan, and Jimmy.
Yeah.
I think that's the way I'd do it. I think that's the only way they can do it with the depth they've got now.
Well, I mean, if we'll just have to see, won't we? We'll have to see because everything will change. I mean, I know Matt Richards is not struggling, but he's really tired at the moment. He can go 3 seconds quicker. That's how far off the pace he is at the moment because of his training.
Well, you look at all of that squad; they're all PB +3, +10. My mind kind of is struggling to understand how much pain they're in, and if they're in that much pain, how they're racing. But
it's a lot of mental strength, isn't there? Something that we want to talk to Brody about when we get him on a podcast at some point.
We will go into it.
Yeah.
Then we finished this morning's finals with the 250 backs. Not overly too much to talk about here. It's a splash and dash and it's not an Olympic event. But Kathleen Dawson again wins. Looks pretty comfortable in doing it. But beating Georgia Davis is slight bit of a statement because the 50 back has always been her specialty.
Yeah, I just think Kathleen Dawson is just incredibly good at the moment. She can do the 50, the 100 and the 200 all very well. It's almost like Duncan with the freestyle. He can do a good 50, good 100 and a good 200. But yeah, Kathleen's she's just very good. She's just one of the best in the world right now. And I think Georgia would obviously know that. And it's almost like 2 different spectrums of their careers. So I say Georgia is coming towards the end of her career, whereas Kathleen is probably at a peak in her prime right now. Yeah, and I think that's just a difference. I just think that's what happens during an athlete's career. It goes up to a certain point, you get to your peak, and of course Georgia Davis's 50 back. I think she's got the 5th fastest time ever in 50 backstroke. I can't remember exactly, but
you're picking a number out of the air there.
I am. It's a top 10. It's a top 10 fastest ever. So that was her peak, and now she's just slowly. It's just what happens in a career, doesn't it?
I think she'll stay in the sport. ISL will keep her in the sport. She's a key member of Energy Standard.
Yeah.
She'll definitely stay in the sport. Although you say that, she might not be on Energy Standard next year because the draft is coming.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I mean, we're going to do a podcast on that, but you're going to be in complete control because I don't know what the draft really is. I know of the draft because of NBA and NFL, but I mean, I have no idea what it is. So you're going to take control of that one completely. But I'm looking forward to it as well. We're going to plan out our own team, aren't we? That would be interesting.
Do a mock draft, basically. Me and Dan are going to go against each other, and then we'll put the names on paper, and then you guys can pick who has the better team. It's going to be really fun to do.
Yeah. I mean, it could go on for 2 hours, but we'll find out. We'll try and get through it as quick as possible.
Let's hope not. Right, so that's the morning's finals done. I mean, not a massive amount to talk about. 2 consideration times hit. I think 2 that were, after last night, very much expected. It's kind of just solidified their pick. Yeah. The only other name, like we said, is Lucy Hope. Hopefully she's on the team now as well. We've kind of been banging her drum a little bit recently. I think she definitely deserves to go, and so does that relay team.
I mean, we've been banging her drum, but at the same time, I think it's rightly so because she's actually every time she gets in the water, she seems to be getting better and better, and she's pushing herself. She's doing exactly the way I would race it and take it out strong. Put yourself in the best position to get that time or get that position or win the medal, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then just hope that the training you've done beforehand has served you well, so you can hold on for the last 50 meters. So she's done it right. That's the way I would do it. But it just hasn't happened, unfortunately for her. But I really do think that if they're going to take a team, which they should do, I said it yesterday. If we're European champions and then we don't take a team, it's just almost an outrage, to be honest with you. So I think she goes because of that.
We'll find out.
So we will find out at the end of tomorrow, I suppose.
Yeah, when is the last date that they can announce swimmers?
I don't know. I didn't actually look. I'm sure there's a policy page somewhere, but
I feel like it's the 6th. I'm not quite sure.
that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Makes
We'll
sense,
have
wouldn't
to
it? Straight
have
after.
a look into it. We'll look into
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
Right then, so that's the seniors finals done. There were heat declared winners for the juniors as well. Dan, you went through these. We're not going to go through every single result, but there were some European junior selection times hit, weren't there?
There were two actually, and they were kind of half comfortable as well. They got in
Okay,
there. So there's a Millfield swimmer, Evan Jones, in a 200 IM. The time he needed was 2:05.4, and he went 2:04.9. So half a second under. It's
nice.
pretty good going. And then you got the women's 100 breaststroke, Sienna Robinson from Sheffield. Sheffield, by the way, are now the
Having a
top
hell
club.
of a meet.
Yeah, they are
Hell
now
of
the
a meet.
top club in my eyes because they have done fantastic. She needed a time of 1:10.9 and she went 1:10.5, so another 0.5 pretty much underneath the time she needed. Yeah, Sheffield are doing wonders at the moment. I think I think Dan Cocking is the age group coach down there. Really good job what he's doing.
Well, we said
hats
it
off.
yesterday. They had all the struggles of Ponds Forge being closed and not being in the water, but the swimmers have all stayed aerobically fit. They've only been back in the water. Has it been a month? Just over a month now, and
Properly
they're
back in the
smashing
water,
it
yeah.
at this meet. They're
Yeah,
smashing it
no,
at
they
this meet.
really
So
are.
it's really good to see. Really good to see.
I mean, it's just amazing that we see on Twitter that some of these racers or some of these swimmers haven't been in the water racing for 17, 18 months, which is crazy. You do need to have that race sharpness.
Yeah.
And some of these swimmers are doing it really well. Obviously, the three names that have qualified, so you've got Eva, Evan, and Sienna. They've really stepped on the gas and they've just done it.
Yep.
And it's a wild. It's a mixture of events. You've got the 53, the 200 and the 100 breaststroke. So there's all different events. So yeah, I mean, hats off to their coaches and well done to those swimmers for staying mentally strong because it's not been easy. I can say that it's not been easy.
More of the same tomorrow, and then hopefully open meets and everything are starting to come back. Normality is resuming.
You'd hope so, yes.
So if anyone has any questions for us, now is a really good time to put them into the chat on YouTube before we start previewing tomorrow's finals, which is the last finals before Tokyo, and tomorrow will be our last live stream before we live stream Tokyo. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we do that, I don't know if you've seen, but Ireland has had some big news today. They will not only take one, but they'll take two Olympic relays for the first time since 1972.
Ooh.
I know, 49 years. So I think there's got to be some sort of credits going to John Rudd, who took over
he's doing a good job.
For the director of swimming there. Fantastic job. Two relay teams for Ireland. I mean, rightly so. They've swam really well at Europeans. So really good, massive congratulations to them.
They've got a few distance swimmers to keep an eye on as well, come Europeans. I think, is it Daniel Whiffen? I believe. Yeah. Whiffen. I think he's a really big name to keep an eye on in is it the 8 and the 15 he does.
Yeah.
He trains over at Loughborough. But he's been looking really good recently. And then in the 100 back, I know it's an absolutely loaded event, but I'm a big fan of Shane Ryan. Big fan.
I like Darren Green as well in 100 breaststroke. He also swims really well. And then there's Danielle Hill as well. She does a multitude of events. I think it's also backstroke as her main event.
Yeah.
So there's a handful of Irish swimmers that we need to watch out for at Tokyo.
Yeah.
Because I think, most of them maybe make the final.
Yeah.
And then you just never know in the final. I mean,
100 back's a bit hard, but we'll get into that come Tokyo. We'll get into that. Yeah. Right then, previewing tomorrow's finals, Dan. We start off with another splash and dash, the 50 fly. Not an Olympic event, so it's just a bit of fun. Bit of fun to start the day.
Hang on a minute. Oh, 50 fly. Yes, yeah. It's an interesting one, 50 fly. It's an interesting one. I was watching, I mean, we'll get onto the men's in a minute, but Ben Proud's kind of looked so easy in his 50 fly. But it's just not an Olympic event. I just don't know why we would do it, I suppose. After it's just a bit of fun, like you say. It's just a bit of splash and dash. Get the cobwebs out if they haven't done a race already. Maybe practice the race skills, reactions off the blocks, underwaters, because the underwaters are exactly the same as the freestyle.
53.
Yeah. So
well, let's go into a tiny bit with Ben, because he goes to 23.84. He didn't breathe, so he can't go quicker if he doesn't breathe. I don't know, it didn't blow me away, but I think it was more kind of Adam Barrett next to him, who is back after God knows how many years out of the water. He looked really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching Ben Proud start because I really like his start. He's like the second best in the world, in my opinion. And he didn't actually blow Adam away. And I was like, oh my God, I'm really, really quite surprised by that. And because of that start, obviously for a 50, you need a really good start to build that momentum and carry on to the end. Didn't quite happen for Ben. So I don't know if he then realized that and just did what he needed to win. I don't know. But like you say, he didn't breathe, so he couldn't see Adam next to him, unless he's got amazing peripherals, which is pretty unlikely. Yeah, it's an interesting race, really. I never raced 50 fly, so I have no idea, really.
Oh, I loved 50 fly.
Never really did it. But the women's 50 fly, I mean, you look at the names, and actually, Kiana McKinn's won. She's more of a 200 flyer, but it is a very young field.
All I took away from the girls' side is that it's a young field, and I think Kiana McKinn's wins it quite comfortably tomorrow.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to watch something, it's Casey Robertson's start. She's a very good starter. And then she just needs to work on the breakout going into the stroke, basically, because the underwater's really nice. And the reactions off the block, really good. She's just trying to maintain that speed and that explosiveness that she gets off the block, basically. But yeah.
So we get into the, let's say, proper racing. I don't like saying that because I think the 50s deserve a bit more respect, if I'm perfectly honest.
Oh, if I were to choose, they'd be part of the Olympic program. They would be.
Yeah, they should be. They should be.
Yeah.
The women's 400 meters freestyle, it looks like time's running out on Holly Hibbert.
It's so difficult.
It's hard to see.
That consideration time is so tough. I mean, we said it yesterday that no one in the Olympic final, in the European final, apart from one, made that time. And Quadrella's probably one of the best, who's very likely to win a medal behind Ledecky, of course. So it's a really tough time to get. And I kind of feel for Holly because she looks like she's doing everything she can. And every time she races, she's by herself, effectively.
Yeah.
So even in that European final, she had the competition next to her, but she was in lane 1 or 2 and kind of isolated herself because the person next to her wasn't actually taking her. Yeah, the pacemaker wasn't there for her. Same with Glasgow here. She's basically swimming by herself. I mean, on paper, she won by 2 seconds, was it tonight?
For the heats, yeah.
But that was for the heats, and she's supposed to go at least 10 seconds quicker tomorrow morning. It's a big ask. It is a big ask, but if she does it, I mean, I'm going to be bouncing around the room. It looks a bit unlikely, but I hope she proves me wrong. Yeah.
Paris is the target for Holly, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Men's 400 meters freestyle tomorrow. So you've got the Olympic qualifier in Kieran Bird. He's the only Olympic qualifier in the 400 free.
Yeah.
What time do they have to go? Just in case anyone hits it tomorrow. They've got to go a 3:46. So they've got to go 8 seconds faster. Luke Turley goes in the fastest qualifier. Max, maybe he's a dark horse. Maybe he is a slight dark horse to make that consideration time. It's fast, but he's the one in the best form in that field.
Yeah, I actually don't think Kieran's going to win the race, to be honest with you, even though he is PB-wise actually quite much faster than the rest of the field. But Max in the Europeans, 3:48, I believe he went. His PB is 3:47, so it's within reach. I just don't know if he gets it because I've got no reason. I just don't know if he gets it or not. That's the only. It's just he's going to be so close. I think
maybe he just kind of trained through any thought of getting any more consideration times. Now he's already on the plane. Does that make sense? He's just focusing on that 4 IM.
Yeah, and like we say, that he's done really well in the 200 IM, but these are classed as bonus events almost, aren't they?
Yeah.
The 200 IM, of course, incorporates all the strokes, and then this 400 meters freestyle is the same distance. So it's almost like a combination of both to make sure he does really well in the 400 IM. I mean, I'm clutching at straws here, I'm guessing, but I just don't think he... I think it would just be Kieran that races the 400 at Tokyo.
Yeah. I think tomorrow, any sort of time under 3:50 is outstanding. If we're looking at the times hit today. But again, I'd actually be fairly surprised if any of that field go under the 3:50 mark.
Yeah, I was actually going to say 3:51 probably wins it tomorrow, to be honest with you.
There we go, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that'd be a pretty good time. I think Kieran does much the same time, maybe 3:52 or something like that. But... it's just the same reasoning for the Bath Swimmers being killed at the moment, or in a hole, is what Brody said, wasn't it? They're in a hole.
Yeah,
so,
in a hole.
yeah.
Women's 100-meter backstroke. Any surprise not to see Kathleen Dawson or Cassie Wilde swimming this? It's a bit odd.
Honestly,
it's a bit odd.
I was watching it tonight, like, there was no Cassie. I was like, okay, well, she didn't have the best of 200 backstrokes. Okay, maybe she's tired. And then Dawson didn't walk out. I was like,
what's going on?
So I don't understand what's going on, really. So now Georgia's going to be racing by herself. Ideally, she goes under the 60-second mark, like she did at trials. Oh no, she didn't. She was just over in trials. So the aim is to go 59 point. But she's got no one to race against, I suppose. Opens the door a little bit for the younger swimmers behind her, in Casey Shanahan. Let's use her example, or Charlotte Evans, to nab a medal. Do they even give out medals at this competition? I've got no idea. I'm just watching times.
I don't quite know why they're not racing, but maybe they both did the 50 today, and maybe they just felt they're too tired and just skip it. Let's move on.
Yeah, maybe they've just gone back home, because of course Glasgow's just down the road for them. Or I'm assuming they just live down the road. So they would just go back and just have this day as a rest day, and then back to training tomorrow morning. Not tomorrow morning, Monday morning. Sorry. So yeah.
Men's 100 meters backstroke though tomorrow. I think there's a big chance of a consideration time being hit. I really like. Joe was only 0.1 off it tonight.
Really,
I think it's coming.
Actually.
I think it's coming.
Yeah, I was watching. I was like, "Go on, you better do it. Because he did every element right. The start was really good. The turn was really good. The stroke rate was really high, and nothing was really wrong. He just missed the time, and you saw his reactions.
It's only 0.1.
Yeah, well, he missed it. Even still, you got to go the certain time to get qualified, haven't you? I mean,
He's clearly going for it.
It wouldn't. Yeah, that's what I really appreciate, is that he's actually gone for it in the heats. He's missed it in the heats. That's fine. Just do it again in the final. On another day, 0.1, you'll probably get it. So yeah, and of course,
I hope he gets it. I'm all of my eyes, my two eyes are on Joe tomorrow. I really hope he gets it. I know he's already qualified for the 2 IM, maybe the 2-3. I don't know. No, he's not hit the 2-3 time, but he might be part of the relay team.
Yeah. I mean, Luke and the other swimmers will push him along. I mean, Craig McNally is swimming quite well.
You see that? He's a good 2.5 clear of this field, going off the heat swims.
Yeah, but Luke can do a 53 point almost at will now.
Surprised Elliot Clogg missed this final.
Yeah, it was a shame, actually, wasn't it? That was my biggest takeaway.
Actually, looking at this, that's a really deep 100 backfield.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah,
that's quite competitive. I kind of didn't expect it to be that competitive. We'll have an A and a B final tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
so in effect, Elliot Clogg should just be in lane 4 for the B final.
Yeah.
So he hasn't missed the final, but
yeah, Joe's almost the last consideration time to keep an eye on, I would have thought, for this meet, because he's very close, and I don't see anyone else getting anywhere near any times other than him.
If I take a look, no, not really. Well, in fact, most of them have all been taken, haven't they? Now
they have all been taken.
So, yeah. Well, there you go then. But yeah, it should be a good one to watch, actually. I think Luke will do a quicker time than 55. He'll go 54, and then let's just hope Joe gets 0.1 quicker. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Women's 200 breaststroke. Molly Renshaw, Abby Wood, again looking pretty damn impressive.
Looking imperious.
Really impressive.
Yeah, they're looking imperious. They really are. I mean, those times that they did, that will make a final, I believe, at Tokyo.
Yeah, I think actually the Dave Hemmings squad, if you kind of take away from this whole meet and you look back at what they've been doing, they have been trying to do semi-final or final worthy times in the evening and then trying to improve on it in the morning. They seem to be the one really hitting their racecraft well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but that would be my advice as well. There's no point for Abby and Molly are going to be in the final at Glasgow at this meet. So what's the point? What's the point swimming a 2:30? You're not going to learn anything from it whatsoever. So you might as well pace it so that they've probably done their research of the times that was swum at Rio, and they've probably seen, I don't know, maybe 2:22 to 2:24 is good enough to make the final. So they're trying to aim for those times. And then, of course, when it gets to the final, you just go all out, of course. So maybe, it's a bit of a pacer for qualifying as easy as you can for the semi-finals
Yeah.
without using energy, that sort of thing. If that makes any sense. I feel like I've waffled there, but it made sense in my head anyway.
Either way, Molly Renshaw looks really good, and she has one of the best
Mm.
breaststroke techniques. It's so nice and long. Even in the 100, watching her this morning, she looks so long in it. You're just like, come on, bit more stroke rate, and you're just like, oh, she is a 200 swimmer.
Yeah, it's a perfect stroke, honestly. I mean, I'd never
Mm.
say there's a perfect stroke. Okay, it's the closest thing to perfect you'll see for a 200 breaststroker, in my opinion.
Mm.
Very long glide, almost like she's putting no effort into it. Very efficient. I mean, the distance per stroke is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then you can see it in the last 200, in the last 100 meters, especially in the last 50. You could see as soon as she extends, she catches on the next stroke, building that stroke rate and tempo. So yeah, it's fantastic. And actually, I do believe that she might actually be favourite for the gold at Tokyo. I think there might be the South African to give her a run for her money, whose name I will not pronounce because I can't actually remember it on top of my head. But it's a hard name to pronounce. But I think Molly's definitely in with a shout of a medal, and whether it's gold or not would be that'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Men's 200 meters breaststroke. Ross Murdoch goes in fastest qualifier tomorrow in a 2:10. James Wilby in a 2:12. I'm not concerned. I think they're going to make the final in Tokyo, but I don't think these guys medal. I think it's hard to say that, but the world of 200 meters breaststroke is getting fast quick.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it loads of times before that the winner has to go a world record, I think, in that event, which is a 2:05 high. These boys' PBs are 2:7s, so well in with a shout of maybe a shout of a bronze. You just never know on the day. But these times, I'm not too concerned. I actually think they'll go 2:9 low tomorrow morning, or 2:8 high. That would be a really good time, actually. So I'm not too concerned. They were just looking for distance per stroke, I assume. They were in two different races, which didn't help, so they were kind of ahead of their own heats. But yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. I think there's not too much to take away from that heat, actually.
No, not too much. Women's 100 meters freestyle. Anna Hopkin goes in as favorite, and she's basically already won this. Looking at the time, she went a 54.2, which is a second and a bit more than next fastest qualifier. She looks in really, really good form. Really good nick.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. Both the 50 and the 100 look pretty good, actually. I'm not quite sure what happened in her final. In the 50, I'm talking about.
Well, maybe this is
a little bit of detail went wrong somewhere. Maybe a slip of the stroke somewhere and lost a bit of momentum. But it's all good.
Maybe this is one to watch tomorrow to make sure she does go faster in the morning swim, because it was the one swim that kind of caught my attention that she went. It was 0.4 slower, I believe, in the 50. So it kind of caught my attention slightly. I think, obviously, like we said, maybe the breakout went wrong or something like that. But I just want her to go faster tomorrow morning, and then I'm happy. Job done.
Yeah, I mean, it only takes one element for it to go wrong in the 50 meter freestyle, especially if it's at the very start. Even if you break your streamline a little bit too early, the momentum you lose is actually quite incredible. But yeah, will she go quicker? I actually think she might be on her limit right now, maybe a little bit quicker, maybe 54 flat, something like that. I think Freya's in a hard training block right now. Again, another bath swimmer for you. But Lucy Hope, yeah, I think maybe she can find a 0.3 or something like that. That'd be quite good. I think she must be going, honestly, for that 4x1. If we're going to take a 4x1, she's going, isn't she?
Yeah. It's just whether they take that relay.
Yeah. I mean, you would, wouldn't you? European champions. I don't know, but there you go.
We'll get into that next week, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Men's 100 meters freestyle. Now we said during our review of the 200, the finals this morning, that 200 freestyle in this country is looking good. Is the 100 freestyle a bit underrated right now? Because you've got Jacob Whittle going in fastest, and he goes a 48.7, which as a 16-year-old is bonkers. Then you got Matt Richards, who goes in third fastest at 18 years old, and Tom Dean going in second fastest at 20 years old. I think the future in this is as bright as the 200.
Well, and then you add Duncan Scott to those names as well, who can smash out a 47 point. Yeah. I'm not going. I mean, I think the 200 is stronger. The 200 is stronger.
I think 200 stronger in the fact that the top end of those guys are in the medal conversation.
Yes.
But Jacob Whittle's going to get there. I feel like he is.
Well, based on what he's swimming at the moment, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. Matt
Mm.
Richards got a huge future as well. Tom Dean, if he carries on doing what he's doing, I'm kind of confused what he does. Is he a 100-meter swimmer? Is he 200-meter swimmer? I think he's 200 right now, but he's able to do a good, solid, world-class 100. And all of those boys are 20
he's
or
a
less.
200. Yeah, he's a
so
200 swimmer.
So 20 years old or less, apart from Duncan, who I think was 24 or 5. But in 3 years' time, those boys should be, I'm not even sure they should be peaking. Tom Dean should be peaking in 3 years' time. I'd watch out for him in Paris. But then 3 years' time, Jacob is still 19. So mental. So,
well, is there a chance he hits the consideration time in the individual? So he's got to go 0.4 faster than he went today and throws a slight spanner into the selection. Do Tom Dean and Matt Richards keep their places, or is one of them under threat? I think they probably keep their places, don't they?
What are you talking about for the 100?
Yeah, for the 100, Jacob Whittle's not far off getting that individual consideration.
Who has got the consideration for the 100? I've actually forgotten.
Matt and Tom.
Matt and Tom?
Yeah.
Or was it Duncan and Tom? Duncan and Matt, sorry.
Duncan and Matt. Yes, I'm wrong.
Okay,
Duncan and Matt have it.
I got really confused and I was like,
sorry.
I'm sure Duncan has. What's it got to go? 48.3 then, is he?
3.5.
That's a big ass. That's a big old drop. But he's 16. You just don't know, do you?
I think they probably stick with those two guys. It would be incredibly unfair. But the 4x1 relay,
Jacob's going already for the relay anyway.
Yeah.
Tom's already going. Matt's already going. Duncan's already going. That's probably the team right there especially for the heat. And then maybe who'd you bring in? Jimmy? Does he could for 100 free? I suppose you have to, don't you? So. Yeah.
No, I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering in the individual. Say Jacob Whittle goes a bonkers fast time tomorrow. Who knows? I don't quite understand the selection policy with that one. We'll just wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't take Duncan out of any team or any spot.
No.
Right now, I wouldn't take Tom Dean out of any spot either. Matt Richards. I'm just waffling, but yeah.
We're talking hypotheticals that might not even happen. If it happens, we'll discuss this on tomorrow's live stream and really take a deep dive down a rabbit hole that probably doesn't need to take a deep dive into.
Yep.
Okay, so that is tomorrow's previewed. Tomorrow's races previewed, which means there's one last session of swimming for us to talk about before Tokyo, Dan.
There is. Yep. Leave your comments below, actually, or on the side, or wherever it is below. If you like the setup, because I think this is the way we're going to do it for Tokyo with morning.
Yeah.
Well, very early morning sessions. It's like 2:00 in the morning, something crazy. So we're not going to do a watch long with these races, but we will be doing this almost like an hour review,
an evening show.
Yeah, effectively. So let us know if this is all good with you guys. We'll probably stick with 7:30 as well. But
seems to work quite well for work and everything.
Yeah, I was going to say we trial and errored this one. We used Glasgow as almost like a stepping stone for Tokyo, and so it seems to have worked quite well. So I think this is the way we will do it, unless anyone has any other ideas.
Yeah, basically. You've done my hosting job for me. There is
sorry.
one comment in the chat. Any news of note from the US trials? It's still wave 1 right now, so there's not any selections or anything like that. All they're trying to do is secure themselves a place in wave 2, which is the big guns, which is still going to be a week's time. What we are going to do is, I don't think we can do this live stream setup for it because we've got a lot going on over the next few weeks, but we're definitely doing a massive podcast review of US and Australian trials in one. We're going to break them both down and talk about their teams, their selections, so that the British audience are well aware of the competition for Tokyo.
Yeah, it's going to be much the same as what we did for Europeans. So we did an hour long or just over an hour long podcast of reviewing the swims at Europeans, and I think no, I'm not thinking. We will break down the American and the Australian trials. So we'll take it from there. I'm sure there'll be big swims. There's a few Americans saying there's going to be some world records hit. I don't know about that, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think there might have to be world records to make the team.
Do you reckon?
It's the only thing, because the one that I think is in incredible threat over there is the 100 back world record.
For the men?
The women's.
Oh, women.
I think it's going to take an incredible time to make the American team for the 100 back.
I think they have to go sub 58. And what did Kathleen Dawson go? 58.0 at Europeans. So, it's roughly the same sort of time. I don't think it's going to be a world. The world record's 57.5. I mean, that's quick. I don't know. If you're going that speed now.
Yeah. I just think Riga is capable of that and more. The only thing I have is she is likely to qualify. This is mind-blowing, by the way. She's likely to qualify for the 100 back, the 200 back, the 100 fly, and the 200 fly. Who on earth has done that before?
Yeah, I mean, you could arguably say Hosu, because she does the 2 and 4 IM, the 200 backstroke, maybe the 200 fly as well. I mean, Hosu is very versatile. But
I cannot wait to go into it because there's so many swimmers that people need to be aware of.
I know. Well, we've been doing our best with these blackboard breakdowns that we've been doing. And they've gone down quite well, I feel. So we're going to carry on doing that up until Tokyo and then probably have a break from it because and then we'll take it from there. Well, I'm sure we'll come up with more ideas, but we've got to try and figure out our next podcast guest as well. So if there's anyone who wants us to speak to anyone, then let us know. Yeah. Oh no, we do. Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we do.
Under wraps. Yeah, we have next week.
True.
We have next week. Right. So we will see everyone tomorrow night at 7:30. We will discuss the finals. We'll talk a little bit about the juniors who are racing tomorrow, and I think we'll take a little bit of a deep dive into previewing Tokyo and where this British swimming team stand in medal hopes. Let's tease some of our medal hopes. We'll go through it.
Yeah. I mean, we've teased it a few times, but I think now we've got a bit of a better understanding of where they could be, especially when I think we'll definitely know after the American trials.
Yeah,
that's the biggest one next, really. But yeah, cool. We'll do our best.
So thank you very much to everyone who's joined us on this live stream. Like we said, we really enjoy doing this sort of setup where we actually get to interact with people watching our videos. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30. From myself, Scott, please subscribe to the Propulsion Swimming channel. We really appreciate that. And we will see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow for the final